This video, Copper Pipe Plumbing Project Part 3, is in playlist Copper Pipe Plumbing Project. This video is a how-to guide for copper plumbing. It describes a project using sweated copper pipe. If you are experienced with copper plumbing, this video probably isn't for you. But if you're an amateur plumber, you'll pick up tips for planning and installing a plumbing project using many types of fittings, tools, and techniques. This video is the third and last in a 3-video series. To watch the videos in order, please watch them from the channel page. This is a Tom's Tech Notes video. There are over 200 computer help and hobby videos on my channel page. If the video you are watching is part of a series, you should watch the series videos in order from the playlist on the channel page. To visit the channel page, you can type this URL into your browser. You can search for TOMSTDA, and you should use the Google search. If they appear in your video window, you can click my name, Thomas Wallace, my photo, or a clickable link. To be notified when videos are added or updated, click the red subscribe button and request email notifications. I've got the wood mounted on the wall. Now I need to shut the water off. Well, I can shut the house water off, or there's a shut-off valve here. It had a red handle under the water heater, but the problem was it was stuck and I couldn't turn it tight enough with a handle that size. So I took the handle off and I used vice grips, and I was able to shut the water off here. So this will shut the hot water off. Once the hot water is shut off, you can open a faucet near the hot water heater. Go ahead and take the aerator filter off that faucet, because you're going to flush through that faucet later, and you don't want any pieces of these pipes to be stuck in that filter. Once you have shut off the water and you've relieved the pressure by opening the other faucet, you can remove this filter. So what you do is you cut this pipe here with a saber saw or a hacksaw. There's not enough room to use a tubing cutter here. This one, remember, it was attached to the filter, so you have to cut it also. Cut it with a saber saw. Once those two pipes are cut, you can unscrew the filter. It was mounted right here, and remove it. One of the things you're going to do, you're going to unsolder this joint, because you're going to solder the new part right here. This plastic tube from the drain and the hot water heater's flame was plugged in here too close. So I pulled it out, and it's over there where it won't get melted while I'm doing the unsoldering this joint. Now this joint, to heat this joint enough to melt it, you're also going to heat this joint unless you wrap a wet rag around it. Anytime you got two joints close together and you don't want both of them to melt, wrap a wet towel or wet piece of cotton cloth around the fitting you don't want to melt. And then heat this up enough to melt this joint and pull this off with pliers. I did that. Here's the end of that pipe that was right here. This is this pipe right here. Once you do that, while it's still hot, try to wipe as much of the solder off with a dry or wet rag as you can right after you pull the old fitting off while it's still hot. So be careful not to burn yourself, but wipe it as well as you can. But you're not going to get it enough to fit in a fitting. The simplest thing to do is wrap a piece of sandpaper around it, grip it, and just keep turning and turning and turning and turning until you finally get enough of the solder sanded off so that joint will fit in a fitting. It takes a while, and you could try, if you think there's anything around the end here, you can try a regular file around the end of it. Just keep working at it, and you'll eventually get to where it's small enough to go in a fitting, which I did. Next step, you've got it sized so this will fit over it. So what you're going to do is you're going to prop this back up in position, connect these two, make sure they're fully connected, and start marking. And I've skipped a step here. You're going to start marking these two pipes so that the elbow will fit properly between them. Remember, this pipe goes to about here in the fitting. This pipe goes down to about here in the fitting. So as with this fully engaged, with this propped up, and with it level, with a level on top of it, then figure out where to cut the pipe to connect the two pipes with this elbow. Remember, the way we're assembling it, we've already soldered the rest of this thing together and this joint. All we have to solder now is these two joints and these two joints. But we've got to get everything cut to the right length first. So you do that, you cut them to the right length, you do the same prep on the ends that we've discussed before, and you flux them, and then you put everything back together. And you try to get it level. You probably won't get it exactly level. I sure didn't, but you can get close. Get this close to level with everything in position. Prop this up firmly. Make sure that this adapter is flat against the wall, because when you put the screws in, it's going to wind up flat, and you want it to be flat when you solder. You can decide whether you want to put the mounting screws in now or not. It's not a bad idea to go ahead and put the mounting screws in before you solder. Put them in the top of the slots so that in the future, if you undo these two, pull this pipe out this way, you can lift the filter and bring it out after you loosen the screws slightly. But for now, put the screws in the top of the slots and make sure you got screws that the heads will pass through this hole. Screw it to the wall. Everything's connected, everything's fluxed, everything's ready to go. Solder this and this, and this and this. Before you do that, you might want to make sure this is tight, that all the unions are tight. This, and that. Make sure they're all tight, then solder everything together. And then you're done. Almost. Next thing you have to do is flush the pipes. Leave that faucet open that you opened when you were going to cut the old filter out. Leave it open. Remember, I should mention, you should not have the cartridge inside the filter for the flushing. So if it's in there, take it out. You unscrew this ring, drop it down, take the cartridge out for flushing. To flush, simply turn the water back on with that faucet open in near the hot water heater and let it run for 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that. That'll flush any particles out that you overlooked when you were doing all this soldering of all these pipes. Okay, now you need to do a leak check. We did the flushing with the filter cartridge not installed, so go ahead and shut off the water, drain the system, put the filter cartridge in before the leak check. After putting the filter cartridge in, turn the water back on, let the air bleed out of the faucet that's open, and then close the faucet. You should also open the bleed valve on the filter housing until water runs out and then close the bleed valve. And then all you do is you just look at it over a period of time and see if any drops occur. I saw one immediate leak, and it was this union right here, so all I had to do was just tighten it slightly and the leak stopped. But then I thought I had a leak, and I'm pretty sure now I didn't. And what it is when you have this apart, if you get water between this and this rim, there'll be water inside this basically nut that tightens the filter. And that water will slowly ooze out right here. It's not really a leak. It's coming out from inside this collar that holds the thing together. And once that water's gone, it'll quit dripping. If any of the unions leak, just tighten them up a little more, like I did the one. And if you see any other joints leaking, the first thing to try is to drain the system, heat the joint up, and put a little more solder in. If that doesn't work, you're going to have to disassemble that part of the system and re-solder everything together there. Once you're done with all the leak checking and everything is leak tight, then you're pretty much finished. You might put a little low dish under there to catch any water that drips out. Then check the dish over the next few days. But soldering is pretty straightforward if you follow the rules for prepping the joints carefully, so you really shouldn't have any problems. I hope watching the videos of my plumbing project have given you good ideas for your own plumbing projects. Thanks for watching my video. That's the end of this video. Once again, here are several ways to visit the Tom's Tech Notes channel page.